Welcome everyone to episode 64 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor, and this is a real treat for me because a few years ago I got the chance to interview a guy who I grew up listening to, a guy named Erik Rogers. He was in a band called Stereomud in the early 2000s. Back when I was in high school. I was a huge fan of those guys and went to see them a bunch of times and had both their albums, which was Perfect Self in 2001 and Every Given Moment in 2003. He later went on to front a band called Dangerous New Machine that was around for a little while, and it featured a future Fozzy guitar player, Billy Gray. And since then, he's resurfaced with a brand new band called My Therapy. And not only do I have Erik Rogers, the lead vocalist of that band, but I also have Jeremy Ferguson on guitar and Will Debty on bass. So it's three quarters of My Therapy is here with us tonight. Not with us tonight is drummer Adam Benedict, but these three gentlemen and him make up a band called My Therapy. So gentlemen, welcome.
Hey, happy to be here. How you doing?
Well, glad to have you guys. Now you guys are, first of all, I mean, as we record this, it's May 14th, 2020. We're in the midst of all this coronavirus nonsense. And I was pleasantly surprised to hear that you guys are all in the same room and practicing. I guess my first question is, how's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing well. I mean, we're in a small town in western North Carolina, and we haven't been impacted by it as much as some of the major cities would be. Like our closest neighbor would be Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And my younger brother is actually a doctor in Gainesville, Georgia, which is apparently a hot spot right now in Georgia. So, my prayers go out to my little brother and his family, is him and both his wife, who are trauma. She's a trauma nurse and he's a trauma doctor. They're frontline people on it, and God bless every single one of them for being out there looking out for our best interest at this time. They're both doing okay. So
absolutely, my sister and my brother-in-law are both doctors. They're in Rochester, New York, and they're doing the same thing. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. That's where I'm calling from. But they live up north, and they're doing that as well. So I definitely. Definitely a big shout out to your brother as well as my sister. So, yeah,
amen. God bless them, man.
So I'm assuming you guys haven't really been affected as much. Have you been practicing together frequently, or is this the first time?
As much as we can. Lately, we usually get together a couple of times a week, try to jam through all this. We're all trying to make sure families are taken care of, and we're doing our social distance and staying away. It's kind of hard, I mean, the reason we call the band My Therapy is this is what we do to kind of get away from all the bullshit, excuse my language, and what we deal with in daily life. So we're happy to get in the jam space and just write music. So we've been getting together, I'd say at least once a week, since this whole thing started.
Sure. Well, that's great. This is, God, I mean, what can I say about this that already hasn't been said a bunch of times? I mean, this is just one of the craziest things that's really ever happened, certainly in my lifetime. It's a bizarre thing to deal with, and we had touched upon this, Erik, when we first got together about 3 years ago to do the podcast, that you told me about. You were starting this band, My Therapy, and kind of told me what it was about. And I thought that was such a great name for a band, because I mean, that's the thing about music, is not just for fans, but especially for the people who make music, is that it is very therapeutic. It's you're expressing that side of yourself, and certainly as a songwriter and as a performer, it's it's absolutely incredibly cathartic and such a good release for whatever's going on in your life. So it's I couldn't have thought of a better band name, honestly.
Well, and it's funny. It kind of came about actually through a song, and that was, and the song was My Therapy, and we were just kind of joking about. And it wasn't even necessarily a joke. It was just more, lyrics were about, some people take a drink, some people take pills, some people write songs, some people drive a car fast and crank up the radio, and just different little things, just being cliche, but just kind of throwing those things out there that help you get away and escape from the things that we have to do in life. You know, the job that you've got to go to earn that living, to pay your bills, the things that are necessary to get through the day to day and survive for people week to week, month to month. You know, but then you've got that thing that you want to do. You know, and for me, it's always been, as a songwriter, is writing music and meeting these guys when I moved up here. Honestly, when this band started, when I kind of retired from Dangerous New Machine and Billy went on to Fozzy and our bass player Randy had lost his mother when we were kind of coming to an end, and for him that was kind of the catalyst. That was the thing that drove him, and based on inheritance and where he was at, he was able to financially go buy a house in Hawaii and retire to Hawaii. You know, and God bless him. I don't blame him. And at the same time, when he lost his mother, he found out that his wife was pregnant. So, you know, the circle of life.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, we're going to raise our daughter in Hawaii. And I was like, you know what, guys, I'm going to move. I had bought a house back when I was in Stereomud from my family on the lake up here in the mountains. And I was like, that's where I'm going. Well, I didn't expect to meet anybody. It was going to be a musician and jam in Hayesville, North Carolina. And as God would have it, I met our bassist, Will, who was originally one of our guitar players, and he knew Jeremy, hence Jeremy comes on board, and we all met Adam, and you got to start jamming. I mean, hell, we had a band at that point. So we started writing and working on music, and the first song that we kind of came up with that we finished, you know, ended up being titled My Therapy. And we were joking one night, and I said, that's the name of the band. I mean, that's what we should call it.
Yeah.
This is what we do. It's kind of our poker night, is how we used to joke. You know, you know, some guys go out and sit around a blackjack table, play poker, do whatever they're doing. You know, for us, it was, you know, you go play golf, you go do this. For us, it was get together and jam. So we were excited to, you know, just kind of call it that and give it all it is a moniker, just to call it something, you know. And have something to reference it by. And at the end of the day, if the music is good and it'll stand on its own, the name of the band will carry too, you know?
Sure.
So, hence you got My Therapy.
There you go. And I mean, what you said definitely hits on a lot of things that, you know, that I've had to explain to people over the years, certainly as a guy being in a band, in addition to, you know, having my family and my day job and all this other stuff. I always explain, like, I would talk to my dad and be like, you know, Pop, I know you always like to go play golf on the weekends. Well, this is kind of what I like to do. And and I think, you know, certainly as, you know, the older I get, I try to remind other people of that, and mainly myself, that I'm like, okay, you've got to still keep doing this, even if things aren't always, you know, for me, even if things aren't always going the way with the band that I want them to, I still have to keep doing this because it's a part of me.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, even when I was in Stereomud and we were touring and we were signed to a major label, constantly people would ask, you know, what do I need to do? What does it take to make it? Well, you have to write. You always have to keep writing, no matter what.
Yeah.
I have hundreds of songs in the catalog that I've been a part of writing, written myself, or whatever we've done. You've always got to write. You've got to put those ideas out there. And you never know when you're going to hit on something that is going to relate to everybody on a commercial level. You know, and that's what being signed and being famous is you hit a commercial level where you've hit on something that everybody can grasp and everybody grabs onto and wants to push it, and it becomes now everything's viral. I mean, hell, when Stereomud was touring, there was no Facebook.
Right.
There was no Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, it was MySpace back then.
Yeah, you guys had kind of hit right as sort of at the end of that whole era, as things were starting to transition already. You know, you had Napster and the sort of thing, but it's now it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, there are artists now that aren't signed to any label that are selling tens of thousands of dollars worth of downloads a week based on fan base and their internet marketing. And I think that's amazing. I think it's beautiful, and it's what it should be, because the bottom line is you want to get your music out there. You want people to hear it. And I'm proud, we've got, I think it's 2,700 downloads of our EP right now. And I mean, that's nothing to what I've done, but it's still impressive to me. I mean, there's a fan base following it, and I appreciate it. I appreciate whoever. I mean, take the time, listen to music. By all means, everybody should go search for whatever genre of music they're into or listen to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Will, Jeremy, now, how long have you guys been playing for, or how did you guys all meet?
I've been playing my whole life, probably 6 years old. And Jeremy was a guy I knew. We played around the same bars and clubs and stuff, locally or whatnot. We even jammed in the same band a time or two, a couple of times. And when this all come up, he was the only guy that I knew that would get what we were doing, and made the call, and he came out, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and as far as that goes, like when I met Will, we actually jammed a few times. This is Jeremy, by the way.
Okay.
And everything kind of linked up, and I realized immediately that we had chemistry, which is not that common of a thing to find, really. So when he called me and told me the opportunity to come join this band and jam with these guys, it was just over from there. Like, immediately, the first night, the chemistry was there, and everyone gelled together, and that's hard to find when you actually have the chemistry between each other and your personalities fit together. That is not easy to do.
Absolutely.
And ever since the first time we jammed, like I said, it was just natural. So there's no way this could not happen.
Very cool. Very cool. Erik, I know you were working at Harris Casino for a few years. I don't know if you're still working there now, but did you guys end up meeting through work at all, or was there any connection there?
So I actually met the drummer Adam through work, and what's funny is when I interviewed for the casino, in kind of a background, I had a ballet business in Atlanta, Georgia, and
right.
We did adult entertainment clubs and hotels and restaurants. And when I decided I was going to make the move up here, I was going to sell my business and get out of Atlanta, and I was tired of getting shot at different nightclubs and all kinds of crazy shit that was going on there.
Nice.
When I did my interview, the guy that I interviewed with asked me, he goes, "Tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with valet parking or any of the stuff that you've got a business background in." And I said, "Well, I'm a musician. I used to be signed to Columbia Records, and I did that for a long time, and I've toured with a bunch of people." And he was like, "Really? I'm a guitar player." So my boss, all of a sudden, the interview went completely sideways at that point, and we talked about music for probably an hour. And when I moved up here, he goes, "We got to jam sometime." I hired a guy that's a drummer, and we'll talk to him, and maybe we'll get together and play. So lo and behold, that was Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam was actually one of the guys supervising the Starbucks at the casino.
Oh, there you go.
So we started jamming, but we were playing Eric Clapton and old Janis Joplin and just crazy, like different blues
Sure.
and like old 60s and 70s rock, and it was nothing that I've ever really done before, but that's what my boss was into. That's what he played, and it was cool as shit.
Yeah.
But Adam and I started talking, and he was like, "Man, I really enjoy like hard rock, He's like, I know you had a band called Stereomud, and he's like, if you ever want to do anything like that." So that's when we found Will and Jeremy and started playing what ultimately became my therapy. So my poor boss got kicked to the wayside. We moved on and started rocking again.
Gotcha.
Everyone's a guitar player. Do not doubt this.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I mean,
when we went to the studio, we still didn't have a bass player. All of us guys actually split the tracks up playing bass, whoever had the best take. actually did the bass tracks on the EP. So, and when did we decide that I was bass player?
I think it was
during that time.
Yeah, during about that time, we were like, we need a bass player. And it's like, well, Will's the guy, because apparently he can actually play bass better than I can. So...
I don't know why it's so hard to find bass players lately. It's the most bizarre thing. I mean, I play bass as well, but it's I don't know why that is.
Well, we're in an area where the population combined between the two closest counties is less than 50,000 people.
Gotcha.
And most of that 50,000 people are 60 and older.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we're
we basically live in a retirement community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, I mean, most of the homes around my house are vacation homes for people coming out of, actually, your home area, Florida.
Sure.
Or they're coming down from New York, you know. So it's not like you're putting an ad in the paper to try to find a bass player or whatever. You're lucky to, and honestly, I mean, you make me sound old in the introduction when you say it's, 20 years ago or almost 20 years ago the record came out, but I was a baby back then, but I am still in my late 40s now, but
that's all right. I'm catching up, so don't worry.
It's hard to find anybody in our age group that wants to just get together and jam, because honestly, it's not like we don't get together with the aspirations of signing a record deal and going on tour. The idea sounds great. We've been down that road. We played. Every one of us had toured before to different degrees. So, I mean, we just enjoy playing music. I mean, I think our bottom line is just to try to write great songs and, have fun doing it. And if people enjoy it, even better. The shows that we get to play or that we've gotten to play, we've been blessed. I mean, we were asked to play at Talladega last year, and unfortunately we were asked to come back this year, but COVID-19 shut that down. And
sure.
We had some offers to come down to play in Florida, which we'd love to get to, but we'll see once music venues open back up and everything like that. I saw, Billy had posted. I know Fozzie's got tour dates they keep postponing and
right,
hoping to get back to, and and I've got friends of mine from like Disturbed when I was touring with those guys.
Yeah.
All those guys. I mean, you talk about the not common. You talk about the average person who goes to a 9-to-5 job. Well, you don't think about a musician as a job. I mean, everybody thinks it's not work, but I will be the first to tell you now, it's work times 10. With what we do, and that as a musician. But I mean, the Disturbed guys are not working. They had a tour coming up, and for guys like that, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars lost in income.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you quantify that? You don't call up the unemployment office and say, I'm a guitar player for Disturbed.
Right.
I lost $150,000 last week, from not being on tour. I mean, it's just not. I mean, because people just take it for granted. I mean, they just think musicians they're good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've talked to several guys who have been on big tours and been, had big record deals, and let me tell you, like, not everyone who does that are multimillionaires necessarily.
Whoa.
Like, and people aren't buying records anymore, especially hard rock stuff nowadays. Unfortunately, that's it just seems like that's the case. But yeah, I mean, this certainly affects just the entire business from the top to bottom, and that's something I've wanted to hit on. In terms of I mean, we don't know how long this thing is going to last. Hopefully, in a year's time or however many years from now people are listening to this, hopefully they'll look back and be like, man, those guys were worried about nothing, or like, it came back. What are they talking about? But as of right now, it's a scary thing, and especially it's hard not to get a little discouraged. Not that I've reached that point or anything, but it's, when you look at, when like big bands are like Disturbed are having problems with touring and losing money, and it makes you think, like, are people even going to go to concerts anymore? Like, why? Like, what's going to happen? It's just, it's very scary.
And that's the thing to me. So for every person that's afraid to go out, you'll have somebody that's not. But again, you're talking about cutting the capacity, or the crowd that will show up in half.
Mm-hmm.
And that for somebody like me, I've been there, I've toured, the other day I was showing a friend of mine, or a neighbor of mine up here. He found out I was a musician, and he looked it up, and he goes, "Oh my God, I saw some metal. There's something on YouTube with Stereomud playing live in like San Antonio, Texas."
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "Oh my God, there were so many people." He was like, "Do you think people will go out like that again?" I said, "Yes, I do. I think they will. Eventually. But what eventually equals to, I have no idea."
Yeah.
And that's gonna. What I'm afraid from a business perspective. So if you take a band that makes $100,000 guarantee, and they go into a venue, and you've got to cut the capacity in half to deal with something like what we're dealing with now, you're driving the ticket price up. Therefore, you're cutting off the number of people that can afford it, because the number of people that are working are less.
Yeah.
So it's a domino effect, and it's horrible. And I hope to see us get through it. And I'm sure we will. We're a resilient country. We overcome all kinds of hardships for decades and decades.
Absolutely.
Have. You mentioned earlier that nothing in your lifetime, nothing in my lifetime. Well, my father, my dad was older when he met my mother, so he was old when I was born. He'll be 85 this year. My father will. He's in great health. He's doing awesome. Hell, I can't get him to stay quarantined. He likes to go out and play golf because they'll let him on the golf course. But
my parents are doing the same thing.
Nothing in his lifetime.
Yeah.
Like this,
Yeah.
I mean, even he's like, and his biggest thing, I mean, he's conservative enough. He's like, financially, he's more worried about the financial impact that he's had to, he's like, "Oh my God, Eric, your inheritance or different things," and I'm like, I don't care about that. I don't care about all I care about is, Dad, are your bills paid? Are you healthy?
Yeah.
Are you good? You don't have to worry about me. And I think all of us are that way, about our parents is, because all of us getting older, our parents are getting older.
Sure.
So I worry about the impact to people like our parents, and that's the people that we have to focus on worrying about as we start to open things back up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a quote earlier today, and I don't remember what it is verbatim, but it was Dave Grohl put it out there, and basically saying when it comes to like large crowds, that eventually it will happen again, because human beings we're social creatures by design, and it will happen again one way or another. Now, how long that's going to be, I don't know, but I mean, but also, as you said, that it's also a lot of, in addition to the health crisis, just all the financial effects that it's been, affecting globally. It's a scary thing. So, I mean, I'm glad to hear that your father is healthy and doing okay. And yeah, that's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, like I said, for all of us, this is new territory for everyone, young and old. I've got friends. Actually, my neighbor is up here for the first time. He's been in quarantine for 2 months, and during this time, his wife had their first child.
Wow!
So they've got what is now a 2-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And he called me. He goes, "Hey, we're coming up." And normally when he comes up here, because for him, most of my neighbors are, vacation homes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, we're coming up, but due to COVID, we're not going to have anybody over with the baby." I'm like, "Oh, dude, I understand." I actually told him, I said, "Hey, I'm going to play Circle of Life from a PA, and you just walk out with the baby and hold her up like Simba from Lion King,
I love it.
And, that way I get to see her.
Perfect.
Just kind of joking with him. And I said, I understand, man. I get it. And that's something. Think about all of the children that have been born or young that don't understand what's going on. They're going to look back and go, oh, yeah, I was part of, I was a kid during COVID,
Yeah. I mean, I look at it with no, I was just going to say, I look at, my two girls now. Since we've talked, I've had a second daughter. My oldest is about 2.5, and our youngest is about almost 11 months now. So
That's awesome.
yes,
That's awesome.
yeah. So I mean, basically, I haven't even been doing as much music. I've just kind of been working from home and spending time with the wife and kids. Which, hey, blessing in disguise. It's like I get to spend more time with them. But at the same time, it made me nervous. I'm like, man, what kind of world am I bringing these little girls into? It's a scary thing. But thankfully everyone here is safe, and my wife and I still have paychecks coming in, so we're very, very lucky. But I mean, obviously our heart goes out to everyone who isn't so lucky. So it's
honestly, Jack, I don't think it's any scarier of a world than what you would have brought them into if COVID had not happened.
That's true too.
There's enough that happens.
Yeah.
That behind the scenes never makes media, any of that. That I mean, it's scary enough. The thing is it's a publicized situation going on. It's scary because you can't see it coming.
Yeah.
But there's always something you can't see coming. And you can't let fear take over what living your life.
Absolutely.
Raising your children, giving them insight to what you think is best, and any of those things. You've got to give them that opportunity, because I'll tell you what, there's only two things we're guaranteed: birth and death.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in between is up to us, period.
Absolutely, 100%. And I mean, to your point earlier, you mentioned kids who are young who don't really understand what's going on. Believe me, that makes it a lot easier on me and my wife. We couldn't imagine if we had 6 and 8 year olds running around, or teenagers. Right. Keeping them in the house. Like right now, the little girls, all they know is that mom and dad are home, and that just makes it easier. So that's one less thing we have to worry about.
So difference is, my stepson came to live with us
Mm-hmm.
about 1.5 years ago. So this has been his first full year up here in school.
Okay.
And he's doing better than he'd ever done in school, and we let him stay back in Georgia with his dad, so he didn't have to change schools.
Okay.
That didn't work, and his mom said, "You know what? I'm pulling the plug. He's coming up here." And he was doing better than he's ever done. He was socially, it was going great, and all of a sudden, school gets canceled. And I hated that for him, because he was doing so good. But he'll get over it too. Well, everybody will. This too shall pass. Of
course. I mean, I've got my cousin has a kid who's a high school senior, and so I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine being a high school senior right now and getting the year cut short. That's got to be bizarre.
Well, actually, my youngest,
Mm-hmm.
my son in Arizona, graduates from high school this year.
Okay.
And I hate it because I was excited to go see him walk.
Yeah.
And see him graduate.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that's not happening.
Yeah.
And he's overcome it. And luckily for him, he was already taking some. He was already kind of advanced out of high school and taking some college courses and moving on to college.
Sure.
He was doing very well in school, so he was kind of already had adapted to that, taking stuff online and being at home. And I'm sure there's a lot of students. The beautiful thing is, most of our younger generation, they're not shy to what a computer is. They're not shy to social media. They're not
That's
shy
for sure.
to learning that way. So, for somebody like me who grew up in a computer era, absolutely. But for someone who was born into it, It's nothing. I mean, they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that, no problem.
Right. Could you imagine if this had happened, like, say, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, we'd be screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, hey, getting back to the band for a little bit. You guys have been practicing together. I heard you mention that you've put out an EP since then. Played some shows. How busy were you guys playing wise? Before all this nonsense hit back in March.
We were doing a couple of shows a month. We weren't. I mean, it was kind of. I mean, it was sporadic because of all of us having day jobs and different things. We were going out. Talladega was one of the biggest things we did. We were starting to branch out into the Tennessee area. A lot of the, within the 2 to 4 hour range from where we are here in Western North Carolina. What sucked is we had a lot more kind of in the works when all this shut us down. So hopefully we'll get it back.
Yeah. There's actually new music if we ever get to the studio.
Yeah, we've got a new EP ready to go if we can get in the damn studio and record it.
Nice. Very cool.
I think our music has truly grown since the first EP compared to what we're at right now. So, I mean, even our chemistry as a band and as people in general has truly, expanded.
In the early days when you guys were first playing together out as My Therapy, were you still doing any Stereomud tunes or anything like that, or were you focusing mainly on new material, or just a mixture of both?
We have actually mainly focused on new material, which we've done a couple Stereomud songs. I think it was Lost Your Faith is the one that we've actually used mostly. But we've mostly worked on our own material. And
we did more Dangerous New Machine stuff.
Yeah, a couple Dangerous New Machine. Yeah, just kind of for the crowd that's familiar with Erik and his work before this band. Mm-hmm. And that way we're not going into something completely blind, Sure. But it's amazing how well the new material has been accepted by everyone. And it seems like everyone that shows up tells their friends, and the next show's grown by half, and so on and so forth. And as soon as all this craziness is over with, maybe we get back in the studio and actually record some of the new tunes. Because like I said, I feel like we have truly grown as a band. And everything, each song is better than the next, which is not a bad thing, as you can imagine.
Absolutely. And I think as you guys continue to record more and put new stuff out, kind of establishing your own sound, I imagine the less you'll probably have to rely on, some of the older Stereomud or Dangerous New Machine tunes when you play live. The more familiar your fans will probably get with the new material, I would think.
Exactly. And we've already gotten to the point where when we go play live, I can see people's mouths moving with Erik. So it's amazing that people are already latching onto it, which shows me that we have some substance behind everything that we're doing. But everything that we've done as a whole. We're a 4-piece, and the four of us, for some reason, is like magic. I don't know. It's the easiest band I've ever been in to write new material.
That's great. Hey, there's something to be said for having the right chemistry.
Yeah, well, chemistry goes a long way because you never know when you get in a room with people how it's going to go.
Absolutely.
I've been in a room with professional musicians that just could not hook up no matter what. But from day one with these guys, it was like the songs write themselves. I swear to God, I can get a 4 count and there's a riff that's there every single time. And I've said this before, I can throw a rock down the cliff and I swear to God, Erik will come up with the vocal melody to fit it every single time. So it's almost like accidental.
That's awesome.
Well, you asked. I mean, we've done Lost Your Faith. We played Pain. We played Burn. We from Dangerous New Machine. What's Your Name? But we also do Counting Stars and Brothers Osborne and Flow Rider Low and Salt and Pepper Push It and what else do we do? Fire Woman from the Cult.
Okay.
What else?
What's a new one?
That's a newer one. Counting Stars we've got that one. That one's actually about to be available for download.
Okay.
We recorded that one. We do all kinds of things. We just learned a Katy Perry song too. We we messed up a Katy Perry song pretty good. But the whole point of the My Therapy, the premise behind what we're doing is just have fun, play music,
for sure,
and throw ideas out there, and play them and see what happens, and some of it works and some of it doesn't, but like Jeremy said, you put us in a room together and we'll come up with something.
I promise you, every single time I get a 4 count, and I promise you it's there, whether I want it to be or not. There's just something about the energy in the room.
I love it. Erik, I know throughout your career you've always sort of covered and had fun with songs that are outside of the genre and making like a hard rock version of it. Is it more fun for you to cover those types of songs as opposed to like a classic hard rock song, or do you see that as more of a challenge?
I don't know. I don't know that I see it as. I do definitely see it more, as a challenge, but I think everything kind of stems from blues, which stems from rock.
Sure.
You listen to those riffs, no matter what. You listen to the bass lines, and I think it's taken it, and basically what we're trying to do is we try to put it back to its roots. When D&M did Flow Rider and Salt and Pepper, Push It, we literally just took those those loops, and turned them into guitar riffs, and took them, and the melody was easy from that part.
Right.
From that point to turn it into a song, and it started for fun. We started kind of as a joke. We were trying to come up with something we could do live that people would know, and it took off from there. And from there, I was like, I'm kind of onto something here, man. Let's keep it going. It's easy to take a rock song and make it rock harder.
Sure.
Add distortion, beef up the drums, but it's another thing to take, some of the covers. Look at Disturbed and Sound of Silence.
Sure.
Although it's a classic rock song, they gave it nuts. And Brahma Bull.
Oh, sure, and that was a massive hit for them too.
So, I don't know. For me, it's whatever kind of grabs us, and we have fun.
Gotcha.
Well, a lot of the time, like we do Counting Stars, for instance, and it had X amount of views on YouTube.
A billion.
A billion. Yeah, a billion views. You play it live, and you see people's faces light up.
Yeah.
Like, I start the original riff going off, like a clean, nice version of it, and Erik even asked the crowd, he's like, you guys recognize this? And you can see people light up when they see what it is. But then they hear the version we're bringing, and they realize it's a new take on the whole thing.
Sure. Yeah, obviously there's that side of it too when it comes to playing something that people know. And I always get torn on it myself when people like suggest cover ideas, and I'm like, man, I'd really love to like play something like from like Judas Priest or something like that, or something like that. But it's like not everyone's gonna know it. But so it's always a difficult proposition. But
go ahead.
I don't know. No, go right ahead.
Bottom line is when you're playing a cover song. For me, anything we're playing, any genre, no matter what genre it comes from, it's about, it's something we enjoyed listening to. I don't just listen to rock.
Sure.
And we hear a song that we like, and basically we go, can we make this a My Therapy song?
Right.
Can we make this rock?
Of course.
And we try it. And I'll tell you, we've tried more that doesn't work than we've tried to make work.
Gotcha.
We'll play through stuff and we're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I think that's part of what the fun is the experiment.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And it goes back to the My Therapy. This is literally our therapy. To be able to come in here and even hang out and enjoy the time together and try to write new music and just see where it goes and see what works and what doesn't work. And you never know. Something you think may be great, you go out in front of a crowd, then you realize what really works. And that's where this happens in a live setting. Because that kind of gives you an idea into the way the masses think as far as what's going to be great and what's going to be kind of you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously you guys are doing it, really doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for the love of the game, and you're doing it because it is fun, and you're putting that first, and you guys are making it happen. And I really, it's definitely inspiring to me. It definitely inspires me to keep going, and I love hearing about it. So,
well, you know, the truth is, I mean, it's like even Erik said before, you know, from birth to death, we're going to be musicians, whether we like it or not. It's in our blood. Like, we had no choice to get together. But fortunately, we found each other in this small little place, and it actually works.
That's awesome. It's very cool. Well, you guys will definitely have to give me a shout if you guys make it down to Orlando or Central Florida in the future.
Well, God willing, we will.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I hope so.
For sure. But in the meantime, where can folks find you guys on social media, online?
So Facebook is obviously, it's the My Therapy band on Facebook.
And Big Cartel.
Big Cartel is the download for, or the way to get the CD. Any digital, like iTunes, Amazon, any of the ways, anybody, Spotify, it's all available. So,
almost any digital format at this point, we are on there.
I don't know how many people. We did a limited release of 100 signed CDs and sold them in less than a week.
Wow.
Which kind of shocked us all because we thought it might take a little longer.
Yeah.
My hand got tired because I was like, shit, we got to sign them.
I personally don't even own a copy of it at this point. I gave all mine away or sold them.
Yeah,
nice.
which was good. I mean, that was a good thing.
Yeah,
so
that's a good problem to have.
Digitally, I mean, I think the biggest way is, I mean, just on Spotify is a great way to listen, or iTunes, or any, like I said, any of the way that people listen to music digitally is available out there. So,
and we're on YouTube also. We have several
My Therapy YouTube channel. So
for sure.
If you guys want to go give us a listen, give us a like, kind of boost the ratings.
One of the things that we've been trying to work on, we've done it once since all this happened, was we've been doing go lives from the rehearsal space. We were able to do it once when everything kind of started,
mm-hmm.
and we've been trying to work on getting together another show live. We were happy. I think it was about 8. We're right at about 8,000.
Yeah. Around 8,000
people when we did the first one. So we're going to try to do it again here in the next few weeks.
And that's a beautiful thing. Even if people are stuck at home, you still have social media. So I mean, you can go online and watch people live. And bands like us try to keep putting content out. That way, at least we're doing something.
Yeah.
And we're just stuck at home alone. We still try to get together and do as much as possible, considering the state of the world.
Absolutely, and I think things like that are definitely holding people over as far as new music is concerned. So, thank God we at least have that. Until things start to open up.
Just because the world's shutting down does not mean that ideas have shut down. It doesn't mean that creativity is shut down.
No,
like I said, we get together in a room and it's amazing. I can get a 4 count and I swear I'll play something I've never played in my life. And I don't know if it's just the energy in the room or the connection with the people or what, but it works. It always has since day one.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Guys, this has been really just a pleasure for me to talk to you guys and to Will and Jeremy, to meet you two. And Erik, it's always a pleasure, obviously, for me. I mean, look, you're one of my influences as a singer. and I've been glad to get to know you over the last couple of years and just look at you almost like a mentor. So it's really great.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, so it's really great to reconnect with you and have you back on the show, and continued success to you guys, and hopefully one of these days we will share the stage once again.
Thank you. I hope so, man. God bless you and your family, brother.
Thanks once again to Erik, Will, and Jeremy from My Therapy. Really great to reconnect with Erik after all this time and just kind of get an update about what My Therapy is up to. If you haven't listened to the original episode I did with Erik Rogers, please go back and listen to it. I'll make sure I post a link to it in the comments. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes, and it's great to kind of catch up with the guys from My Therapy. It's the first time I got to meet Will and Jeremy. I haven't met their drummer Adam yet, but it's but I'm glad to connect with those guys, because it's really cool to see what they're doing, and it's still great to see that they're doing what they're doing, even in the face of things being closed down and that sort of thing. So kudos to those guys. Again, facebook.com/mytherapymusic is their official Facebook profile. As far as what we were talking about is, with everything that's happening with COVID, I know that sort of dates everything to what's going on right now, or at least what was going on in May of 2020, depending on when you listen to this. All I can say is that I hope things have gotten better by the time you listen to this, or if they haven't, I at least hope this has been a nice distraction from whatever's going on in the world that want to be distracted from, I guess. So it's I'm not really sure what to say or how to end this, but I just hope everyone's staying safe. But either way, I appreciate you tuning in, as always. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor, and like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. And feel free to check out my bands, Vertebreaker, which is at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand, and Mature Musical Pictures, my other band, at maturemusicalpictures.com. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this either on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you may be hearing this from, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and go back and listen to all the other episodes, especially the one with Erik from a few years ago. So that's it. Hope everyone's doing okay. Hang in there if you need to. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'll see you later. Bye.